Welcome to my group's presentation. We covered the Hackensack, New Jersey roof collapse that occurred in 1988, killing 5 firefighters.
My name is Austin Flores.
My name is Sophia Searcy.
And my name is Carter Zuquette. Getting into some of the background information, the structure that this occurred at was the Hackensack Ford dealership. This was located at 322 River Street, and this occurred on Friday, July the 1st in 1988, just after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The Hackensack Fire Department got reports of flames and smoke coming from the roof of the Ford dealership, and that prompted an initial response of 2 engines and a ladder company. Once those initial resources got on scene, they quickly upgraded the response to their whole department and mutual aid, and they also did a personnel recall. Just continuing with the background information, the first arriving crews, the engine companies attempted to suppress heavy fire in the attic space, and the truck company cut a hole on the roof. Conditions rapidly deteriorated, crews did not make progress, and the incident commander on scene called everyone out of the building. Unfortunately, people were slow to move out of the building, and very shortly after the command to exit, the roof collapsed, killing a total of 5 members. Starting to get into some of the building construction, the Hackensack Ford dealership had no sprinklers or fire detection systems. It was constructed in the 40s, and it was of ordinary type 3 heavy timber construction. The roof, which is obviously the main topic of discussion in this case, was a concealed heavy timber bowstring truss weighing up approximately 60 tons. On the right, you can see a very simple diagram of what a bowstring truss roof looks like. As a refresher, per our textbook, bowstring trusses use split ring connectors and heel plates as their connectors. And then the bottom cord, which is the string looking part, keeps the top cord, obviously the bow, under tension, which is how it has stability.
So some of the building construction flaws and weaknesses that contributed to this. Obviously, the roof bowstring truss system is not a reliable system. Unusually high amounts of storage in the truss area and also a heavy fuel load against code contributed to the collapse. 35 minutes into the incident, 1 heavy truss collapsed, killing 3 firefighters and trapping 2 others who cannot be rescued, which resulted in a total of 5 firefighters passed away. The failure of any single element of a bowstring truss will lead to catastrophic failure. This is a quote from the International Fire Service Training Association, IFSTA. Bowstring trusses have now become obsolete, and they are replaced with examples like steel trusses. So some of the changes to building construction safety elements. This fire at the Ford dealership was one of the deadliest fires in Bergen County history and sparked many changes in firefighting tactics and strategies throughout the U.S. Reforms in safety, training, radio use, and education have undoubtedly saved lives, which many see as the one saving grace of this fire. This fire highlights the dangers of truss roofs in fires, and firefighters today say they would never have entered a building given these circumstances with a bow truss roof held by a bowstring truss, which is prone to collapse under exposure to fire. The lessons learned have been implemented in textbooks and education across the country. Changes to building construction safety continued. Here's a quote from one of the Hackensack Fire captains, Mark Unico. Sometimes it takes a tragedy to learn important lessons. I can't say it was in vain. We didn't only lose 5 brothers that day. We learned from them. Here's another quote from the fire chief, Thomas Freeman, of the Hackensack Fire Department. We'd ensure it was a defensive operation. We wouldn't put anybody in harm's way. So this is obviously reinstating that they did learn from this fire and have implemented many changes to promote a more defensive operation in these circumstances.
Alrighty, here are some photos of the building construction plan as seen on the left. It shows a more detailed visual example of what actually occurred. So the top left box states that the fire began in the upper northeast corner of the Hackensack Ford dealership, which was the attic. The attic had stored cleaning supplies and heavy-duty auto parts. The path of fire continued west, engulfing the rest of the building and the roof in flames. Once the two engines and additional firefighters had arrived in the building, it had collapsed after 35 minutes, which had immediately killed 3 firefighters. 2 firefighters ended up fleeing to a supply closet, as seen on the east side of the building, where they were trapped. They had radioed for help, but they unfortunately had died. And as seen on the right is a more detailed example of the bowstring trusses used in the building. Alrighty, so when the first heavy truss collapsed, 3 members were immediately killed. They were crushed to death. There was no way that anybody can get to them. But following the initial collapse of the 60-ton roof, like I said earlier, 2 firefighters retreated to the tool room on the east side of the building where they were trapped. They'd radioed for help, but unfortunately they had ran out of air before anybody could rescue them with the battering rams and sledgehammers. Alrighty, following the Hackensack Fire, the International Association of Firefighters had launched an investigation which had proven that ineffective leadership was the main cause of the firefighter deaths, along with poor communication and a lack of proper education, training, and recognition. Now, bowstring trusses are no longer used in this type of construction, and this is a great example as why they should never ever be used. With changes to communication, education, and training has resulted in less firefighter deaths. This last slide is our works cited page. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed our presentation.